stories from around the corner
and around the country.
You're listening to All the Best.
Proudly supported by the Art Gallery of New South Wales.
You're listening to All the Best from FBI Radio 94.5. And I'm Kwame Slusher. This week, we're going to talk a little bit about suspending your disbelief. But before we get into this week's stories, I want to acknowledge that I'm recording from stolen Gadigal land and pay my respects to Gadigal elders past and present. And also recognize that the area where FBI Radio is situated, Redfern, has long been a place of storytelling, strength, resistance, and resilience for First Nations communities. Crick, crack. Two magic words that every Caribbean child would know. It's something I grew up with. It's like abracadabra, but specifically for stories. They're words that are uttered before every folktale. With those two words, there'd be a shattering of reality. In short, a cue for us to stop talking and listen, and most importantly, suspend our disbelief. Which is appropriate since this week's episode is filled with knights and magic. In our first story, you'll follow the knight, Lady Molly, into the heat of battle just 10 minutes outside the Ballarat CBD in Victoria. And we're not just talking about LARPers, medieval suits and foam weapons. We're talking a full contact sport known as bohurt.
It's like a conversation where I say something with an attack and then they will respond. They'll either respond and then back off, or they'll respond and then they'll suggest something too. So I'll go in and I'll be like, hello, opponent. I'm like, who's going to speak first? And if you can see they're hesitating, you might go, okay, well, I'm going to say something first. It's like a dance with a partner. You're listening to each other, but you're also, it's like you're lying to each other as well. A sword fight is a conversation between two liars.
Sword fights, jousting, blood, sweat, and tears. This sounds like a brutal battle in Westeros or a historical war you once read about in a history textbook, but all of this fighting happens every single day at Kryal Castle. Located 10 minutes away from Ballarat CBD in Victoria, Kryal Castle has been a mainstay of Ren Fair fanatics for over 5 decades. The interior courtyard truly feels like you are traipsing around medieval Europe. There's a church for weddings, a cafeteria, animal displays, an arena for fights, a potion-making studio, a maze, and even a torture chamber museum. Kryal Castle is brimming with life. One of its main attractions are the fights that take place in the central arena. Faced by a tall concrete grandstand large enough to seat a massive crowd, the arena has a pebble-studded floor surrounded by a wooden fence. The arena is large enough to house jousts, sword fights, and surprisingly rock concerts.
My name's Philip Leach. I'm the operations manager at Kryal Castle. I've worked here for about 12, 13 years now, and I'm also predominantly a jouster and head of the arena jousting display team.
The fights that Philip coordinates here are nail-biting. Even though the stakes feel like they are low, no one is going to die from their wounds here. Let's be honest, it's the modern world. The battles can get super tense. It's kind of like medieval WWE. There are injuries, heals, faces, wins, losses, and mountains of tension. In official terms, this fighting is called bohurt. Bohurt is a sport that connects armor-clad athletes all over the world.
A lot has changed. The sport of bohurt has become more of a part of what we do at the castle. If you go back, when I first started here, not many people knew about the sport at all, and I've sort of seen it gradually become more popular, more mainstream, I suppose you might say. It's just been really interesting and enjoyable watching the bohurt community in Australia grow and performing on the world stage as well. Australia has got a number of world championships in different divisions now, and I think around the world people are starting to consider Australia one of the teams to beat.
Due to this rise in popularity, more and more people are getting involved with the sport. especially at Kryal Castle. I recently spoke to a star fighter who was inspired to take up the sword and armour herself.
My name is Molly Fry, and I'm currently unemployed, having a bit of a break from the work life. My hobbies are absolutely everything to me. So my hobbies include cosplay, which is something I throw myself into a lot, but I also help my partner run an armoured combat club in Ballarat, and we travel all around the world wearing armour and beating each other up and beating other people up in full armour, which is really, really fun and rewarding. At the moment, I've had to really limit myself, but throughout my life, I've always jumped from hobby to hobby to hobby to hobby. Most of them like sports-based or some sort of physical activity. I used to do pole dancing. I even taught it for a little bit. Figure skating, basketball, netball, lacrosse at one point when I was younger. What else have I done? I've done a whole bunch of things, and then I kind of just like see something else that takes my interest and move on to that. The only ones that have really stuck are armored combat and cosplay. I had my first taste of it when I got employed at Kryal Castle, working in the eatery of all places, pouring beers and serving pies. And that's when I met the Western Wolves, which is the team that I help run nowadays.
The medieval community is a lot more diverse than you might think at first. Bohurt is just the tip of the iceberg. Here's Molly again to explain the intricacies of this far-reaching community.
It's a very, very difficult thing to grasp and a very difficult thing to describe to other people, because the medieval community as a whole, we all branch off into different sports and different hobbies and different things. So, and we often get confused as being a part of each other because people don't know what they're looking at most of the time. All they see is people wearing medieval-esque stuff and beating each other up or just standing around. So you've got your LARPers who will wear your fantasy gear, and they hit each other with foam weapons, and it's more of a role-play aspect. So it's like think D&D come to life. And then you've got reenactors who do wear armour a lot of the time, but they can also just wear garb from any period of time, and they just partake in activities that people might have done back then. So like cooking, like old style cooking. They might engage in lost trades such as leatherworking or blacksmithing as a hobby, or they'll wear armour and they'll do like display fights, but they're not going at full intensity, and the goal isn't to injure each other like it is in my sport. Our sport is called Bohurt. Think any kind of combat sport like MMA, and then put us in armour, and we are full contact. In our sport, we have different categories that we compete in. The ones that most commonly get watched are our group fights. So you've got like 5 versus 5. You've got 12 versus 12. At Worlds, we had 30 versus 30 in the men's category. That was fun to watch. Oh my gosh. That is chaos. And if you ever get the chance to see it in real life, it's the most surreal experience. So yeah, we've got our group fights, and then we've got our singles categories. So we've got duels. So we've got longsword, polearm, sword and buckler, sword and shield duels. Those are more like fencing, where it's all points based. So if you hit the head, you get a certain amount of points, and you hit the legs, you get a certain amount of points. But it's all about the feeling. For me, like a kind of like primal version of yourself takes over. A more like, you go a bit monkey brain, but you also rely heavily on the skills that you've been sharpening in practice, and you kind of just let your body take over. You don't think too much.
Like other sports, Bohurt has not always been the most welcoming environment for gender diverse people. Women are slowly being represented more and more in the sport, and Philip and Molly say that the change is already visible.
When it first started, it was very male-dominated, and is probably still, you'd say it's male-dominated, but the numbers of females participating has definitely escalated a lot. And it's really good to see. I guess it's exponential growth when the more females that are out there and visible and being seen doing it by if it could just be someone sitting in the public or someone coming across a YouTube video. All of a sudden they realise, well, that is something that I could potentially do, and it makes the gates open.
We've had to do some real work in the community over the years about having not having the women's fights be overlooked. In the past, we've been at events and the women's fights have been such an afterthought. Like, everyone's always super excited to watch the men fight, and then the women's fights were often either at the very start or the very end of the day. It felt like to the women that the men were just going off and celebrating and patting each other on the back about their fights, and then kind of just like half paying attention to ours and not getting the crowd to get behind it. But that's really changed. And I think it's just because we've got more women doing it now, and they put a lot more into their training and their fighting. But we've still got a ways to go with it. Apart from that, though, I've never been in a community with consistently such level-headed, accepting, non-judgmental men in my life.
Molly is a seasoned and talented fighter and is greatly treasured by her community. She recently travelled to the Bohurt World Championships in Hungary, where the Australian team took home the second most amount of medals out of any nation there. She's been a mainstay at Kryal Castle for a while now, and something happened to Molly at a recent Bohurt event that even she didn't expect.
We were all standing there in our helmets. They got us all to line up. I think there was 70 fighters or so. We're all lined up, and when you've got your helmet on, you can't hear anything. You can't hear. You can hear that's when people try and talk to me, they have to make sure they've gotten my attention first and make sure that I'm actually actively listening. So I'm standing there with my helmet on. They're giving a speech. I don't know what they're saying, and then they say something, and then there's silence, and everyone's looking around what's going on? And then they say it again, and I'm like, I lift my visor up, and I'm like, huh? And then they start looking over at me, and then I'm like, oh, they're trying to get my attention. I wasn't sure what was going on. I had no idea, but I hobbled over, and then I found out, I was like, oh, they're going to knight me. They're going to knight me. And I was so embarrassed because I couldn't hear. It took them forever. And so it was just him standing there all serious, like, Molly. Molly? I was really embarrassed about that, but it was a really cool experience. My mum was in tatters. She was standing behind me filming, just sobbing, but it just felt really nice. And as a woman, it was very nice it felt like they were taking it just as seriously as they do with each other.
I ran all the knightings at Kryal Castle as Kryal Castle's head knight. That's sort of one of the duties and privileges that I have. And the knighting ceremony is kind of a way for us as a community, completely separate to the business, but just as a group of 100 people that work here or have worked here over the years to recognise people's efforts and contributions. Molly has been involved with the castle as an employee and as a patron and as a Bohurt community member, helping us run events that includes Bohurt, and she's been. I see her as sort of the face of female Bohurt within our region, and she's a great sort of role model. So I felt that she was very deserving of a knighthood. So we knighted her on the arena in front of hundreds of people, including all the Bohurt practitioners. It was the largest tournament that has ever been held at Kryal Castle, with a number of people in armour fighting over the weekend.
And henceforth, Lady Molly was inducted into Kryal Castle's official order. Induction into any night order includes a little backhanded slap, also known as a buffet, a ceremony that Molly wanted them to uphold without holding back. Molly's knighting is a massive step forward for women in Bohurt. As the sport continues growing and other folks are inspired by the likes of Lady Molly, more people will start putting on armour and hitting each other with metal.
I think there's a lot of people that want to try fighting as well, and they, for whatever reason, have something drawing them back. Like, I'm not strong enough, or I would freak out if I had to do that, or like, I think it would be too painful. I think I'm not good enough, you know? And to that, I always tell people, you know, we all start like that. If you want to start something, you're not going to start. You're not going to start from a point where you're being expected to just immediately be amazing.
It is a lot more accessible and available than people might think. But like any things like this, it does come with a lot of effort on behalf of the individual that's participating. You've got to really want it. So, like, my recommendation is to find a club or people that are doing it within your area. Touch base with them, find out what they're like, how their classes run, and whether you think it's going to be something that you're comfortable with. I know Molly's group, the local one, they run different classes nearly every night of the week, including kids' classes.
You learn it along the way. You'll get stronger. You'll get used to it. And if you pick the right club, you'll be with people that will help you every step along the way. No one will ever make you do something that you don't feel like you're ready for. But signing up is half the battle. So just sign up. Just do it. You can get injured in any sport. I used to play basketball to a pretty high level, and I got injured doing that way more than I get injured doing this. It's what the armor's for.
You're listening to All the Best on FBI Radio 94.5. Proudly sponsored by the Art Gallery of New South Wales. I'm Kwame Slusher. And that most regal tale was produced by Persephone Waxman, and the supervising producer was Mark Yin. In our next story, with just a recorder and $5, Mel Bakewell will not actually pull a rabbit out of a hat, but instead tell you a story of magic in Adelaide.
Nearly 10 years ago, this friend tells me about the best thing that they went to as part of the History Festival in Adelaide. It's a $5 magic show in the basement of an old bunker on South Road. Back then, the bunker was next to this skate park, and on the road-facing wall, so that you could see it as you drove by, was this faded painting of a wizard in purple robes, pointy hat, releasing a dove. We went to the $5 magic show, and for years after, when the History Festival rolled around, I told everyone I knew, you know that painting of the wizard on South Road? It's a magician's club.
Yeah, it's a special place to us, and most people are just blown away. They don't know it exists, and then they come down and see, you know, almost our sanctuary, and they get to share what the life of a magician's like. Actually, what's a good magic word?
Pickle.
Pickle? All right, we'll go. Yeah. Oh, you dropped the one. My name is Phil Ahrens. I'm the president of the Australian Society of Magicians.
Today, I'm meeting Phil for a tour of the club.
So 13 steps into the main area. Push the curtain aside. We're down in what we affectionately know as the bomb shelter. It's actually a communications bunker from the Second World War. We're down in the main auditorium where we do magic shows as part of our club events. That's my undercloak, and I've got a necklace and all that sort of thing. And my pixie pointy shoes down there ready to go.
Phil obviously is a magician, and as a children's performer, his name is Whizbang.
He's irreverent, he picks on the parents and the teachers, makes the kids look good. Oh, actually, could the audience help as well?
Yeah.
Coming down those 13 stairs.
And this is what greets you.
The clubroom feels like a treasure trove.
A room full of posters of all the magicians who visited Adelaide over many, many years.
The walls in here are covered with autographed portraits of famous magicians.
Yeah, Houdini was here in 1910, I think.
Cutouts of newspaper articles and posters of magic shows.
It's surrounded by the history of the last 150 years of magic.
The Adelaide Club came together in 1920, and Phil tells me that they've been meeting here in this building, the bomb shelter, for over 50 years. He points out one particular photograph.
And then there's the photos of the members.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, in the back, right in the back corner is our founding members. And he's holding a skull, and we've got the skull out here in the cabinet.
In the main foyer, a cabinet's brimming with all this trickster stuff. Clocks and cards, swords, gags. I don't have any idea what half of it is, but I kind of want to play with it.
Could you describe to me some of the items in this
cabinet? You start with a single clock. Chinese goes off, and then the multiplying clocks. That's a head rotator. The dragon sword, production box. Hand chop those pieces to get a hand in there, and then a genie appears out. These blades through your arm. So these are tricks. They're over 100 years old, most of those. Yeah, they were invented a long time ago.
In an adjoining room, there's a small magician's library, locked up in tall glass bookcases.
This is our library. This is our most valuable collection, I guess. Books going back 150 years old. So
this is the vault of knowledge.
Some of the first books in magic sit on these shelves. Modern Coin Magic is a book on just doing coins. Card Magic book by Harry Lorraine that we recommend. If you want to get into mind reading, mentalism, there's the Mentalist book. There's quite a few famous translations of special books into the English language. They're quite rare. Abra, that was a magazine that came out for nearly 50 years. If you just want to do handkerchief tricks, there's a 4-volume set. So yeah, that's our main foyer, the library, and then this is our theaterette. I'll just pull the curtain shut because we're about to get some people come down.
In here are rows of empty seats awaiting the $5 magic show. And it was here, in this room, that Phil performed his first magic show in front of other magicians.
Oh, but I really wanted to be a member of the club, and one of the criteria was you had to perform for 10 minutes in front of your peers.
Phil says when he got up on that stage for the first time, he was about 30. He'd been at a magic shop on Grenfell Street, and they had told him, hey, you should join the club. And he was like, what club?
So I was a late starter in the magic scene. I didn't know about magic clubs until I had my own children and started to get interested in magic. So I come from a family of storytellers and card players, and we just were brought up always playing cards. I showed my grandfather a card trick and he said, oh, that was great. And that was really the beginning of my interest in magic because Grandpa really loved it. I just think it's fun. I think most people, when they're surprised, they laugh. And that was my grandfather as well. He loved playing practical jokes and things like that. And my father did as well. And so we were practical jokers. And magic it's like a gentle way of playing tricks on people, but also you can come along for the ride. So I got up there very nervous.
And then he did a trick that they had never seen before.
They welcomed me. It was just so exciting and very humbling to realise that you were right at the bottom of the pile and they were performing unbelievable magic and just sharing all this information that I'd never had access to.
As Phil performed that magic trick, he was being welcomed into a whole new community.
We have secrets, but once you're a magician, we share them. And I don't think I've been involved in a community quite like that. There's another magician, Eugene Berger, who passed away recently, who talked about magic being a house with many rooms. And so we all have our different personalities and our different ways of doing magic, but we're all in the same house and we're all in the same community, and I think that's a lovely expression of what magic is.
Opening the bomb shelter up to the public helps other people have access to it too.
Anyway, let's break the curtain. And so, yeah, we see families, elderly people that have never seen a magic show in their life, and young children that have never seen a magician in their life. When we do our magic shows, they I'm not sure, for $5, what do you expect? Have you done magic before? I reckon it's one of the bargains of the History Festival, to be quite honest. All my friends say we should be charging a lot more, but we wanted everybody to have access to it. I bet you didn't believe you could see magic this powerful down here in the bomb shop today. It's incredible, isn't it? You're like a kid every time you see a magic show. I don't think you can get it out of you once you... Yeah. No, we love it, yeah. I said to my father when I grow up I want to be a magician, and he said, "Oh, well, make your choice." So I became a magician, but I never grew up. To do my... Lots of shaking heads going on.
At the end of 2026, the club has to move. There's major roadworks coming through that are going to tunnel beneath the bomb shelter.
We'll probably want to pack all our photos and posters and all of that because they're priceless, they're irreplaceable, most of it. That'll be a really sad day for the club because, we've been here for over 50 years. And that'd be, a sad loss to the history of our state, in my opinion.
Phil says they've got every intention to come back.
We have a lot of community support and everybody comes down here. You don't know it exists until you're here. Then every time you drive past, you can't forget it.
You're listening to All the Best on FBI Radio 94.5, and I'm Kwame Slusher, and that story was produced by Mel Bakewell. And if you love a little bit of sleight of hand and jousting nights, then keep listening to All the Best for unique stories from independent audio makers from so-called Sydney and around the country. Definitely catch our live radio broadcast on Sundays at 9:30 a.m. on FBI Radio 94.5. We also release a brand new episode every Tuesday at 4 p.m. on allthebestradio.com, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Follow us now so you never miss an episode. All the Best is made at FBI Radio on Gadigal land in association with SYN and 3RRR on Wurundjeri, Woi Wurrung and Boon Wurrung lands, and ACCC on Arrente and Wurrumungu lands. The All the Best executive producer is Mel Bakewell. Patrick McKenzie is our community coordinator. And a special shout out to some of our amazing volunteers, especially Ray, Sue, Lindsey, Andrew, Emma, Ash, and Sharon, who helped to make All the Best possible. Shining Bird composed our theme music, and Annie Hamilton designed the artwork. We're heard across Australia on the Community Radio Network, and we're made possible by the Art Gallery of New South Wales and the Community Broadcasting Foundation. You can find our full archive of more than 600 episodes at allthebestradio.com. I'm Kwame Slusher. Thank you for listening.